Hello and welcome back to season 7 of Film versus Film. My name is Quinn Boys. I am a 26-year-old organ donor from Hawaii, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host. He likes to both kid and play. Lilo Stitch Jr. Lilo, what's up, man? How you doing?
Stitch Jr.
What's up, Lilo?
Still getting punished from last season. Good. I like that one. Kid and play. That was a good one, actually.
Yeah.
Don't we wish we all were 26?
Yeah. Well, I did when I saw the movie that I picked, and now because I was like, that seems like a cool age to be, and now I'd like to go back.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, on both ends of it.
Okay,
yes,
you're on both ends. What's going on? I am Leonard Smith Jr.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
Yes, and we have a fun episode today. We have a great guest today who gave us an amazing prompt. Writer, producer, performer, Toni Adeyemi. Me, Toni Adeyemi.
Hey guys,
what's up?
Thanks for having me on the pod.
Thank you for being here, Toni.
I'm so excited.
It's a party atmosphere. We've got
it's a really lot.
I
took a couple shots
in the room.
We took a couple shots before we started recording this, and that's because today we're doing Let's Throw a Party.
Let's throw a party.
Toni, you gave us this prompt. What prompted you to give us this as an option?
No one, I'm so mindful and demure these days that no one really realizes. I used to be a huge partier. I grew up in a really white suburb, and they were drinking from like middle school. So
wow.
I just, I'm reformed, but I've been to some good high school parties.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I would love to see your guys' take on this, how the media portrays these type of films and how they actually live up to like our real life experiences.
Ooh, okay. So 26 years old in real life, 26?
Right now, I'm 27.
27 in real life.
Just making her reveal her age.
27 in real life and 45 years old in party years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like I retired. Like by the time I was 21, I was like, so
I'm over this party.
No, like literally so. Like I had so many fake IDs by that point. Like I was
really?
Oh my god, like
many because you got them taken. They would keep getting taken. No,
I actually had this weird fear that I would lose or get them taken away. So every time someone would put in an order, I'm like, give me 4.
Give me 4.
Literally one time my ex-boyfriend, he opened my wallet and like saw how many fakes there were in there. He's like, do you have something you need to tell me?
Yeah.
Like, are you running
a scam artist?
And I was like, no, I have a problem.
Did you have to keep your fake ID straight? Like, when I go into this fake ID, I go into the 7-Eleven that's, I don't know, did 7-Eleven sell beer where you grew up?
No.
Damn. Yeah. It does here though.
Yeah.
You go into the liquor store and you'd be like, oh, right, I'm Tony P here, but next one over, I'm Tony F.
So they were all mostly my real information. So it was
that just doesn't make any sense.
I know, but it was just the age that was different because you don't want to have to remember anything in that moment. You're already in a high stress situation.
Years.
Yeah, you just changed the year. So they literally were all my name.
Wow, that's kind of brazen.
No, like
your
it was,
actual government name.
It was like is there like a statute of limitations?
No,
but that is kind of smart because it's like
the police are outside.
Okay, I have to go. But this
like any party, any good party, the police are not far off. So
they're always
watch
circling.
what you admit to.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So this is all based on a true story, hypothetical.
It's a person you know
it's
named
smart
Tony.
in the sense they're like, all right, let me see a credit card with your name on it. You're like, honestly, I'm not old enough to have a credit card, so.
They ask you your address, you have it. Like, it's, you just don't want to
put your actual address on there too.
Everything. It was,
So I know I'll admit this about myself. I never had a fake ID.
Did you, Leonard?
I made a fake ID on Microsoft Paint. I went to Staples and got one of those ID making kits where for schools with the lanyard hole in it.
Yeah.
And I got really nice photo paper and glued it over top of it so it covered the hole. It had no back on it, and I would just keep it in my wallet. You know how you can slide it in? I would never take it out. And I had a little chin strap beard. I was such a baby face, but I had a little chin strap beard at 19. And there was like a gas station, a Citgo that would sell me alcohol. And there was like 3 bars that I could get into.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so did you?
No fake ID for me, but my idea of it was that if you get caught with it, they rip it up. They'd rip it up or they'd take it, rip it up. They'd cut it in half. But the benefit, I guess, was that your information would be a front, so they couldn't like find
find
if it's just the store clerk, they'll probably they're not going to do a citizen's arrest. So you're like, see you later. But in your case, you have your address on there, your full name. they just follow you home. They don't even need to follow you home. They've got all the details. That didn't occur.
No, honestly, like I had one that was better quality than the others because mine, like we would order them like from China. We'd be paying like Bitcoin. Like we were like I don't even remember. Like I wasn't really organizing it, but like my friends would be like, guys, like the girls in my sorority are putting in an order. Let me know. And like it was just this like there was in the Midwest, there was just a process. Like there was. This is a market. Like it's like everyone's drinking underage. So there's just like these set established processes. And like, so I had one that honestly was so good that like it never got taken. I only lost one of them. That's why I got paranoid. So I started ordering like 5 backups, but they were all
12 fake IDs.
And the one that I originally had was always the best one. So I never even used any of the ones that I ordered. But
I
like,
hope those IDs are still in circulation, being used somewhere.
I have a lot of them still. Like they're just in my
Yeah, because you can't sell them.
That's
usually
true.
when you
It's
have a fake
my
ID, because it's literally
information.
yours.
Yeah.
like
Somebody's out here committing crimes.
It's your
Tony.
real social security number. So speaking of underage drinking, I think there's underage drinking in both of our movies.
Yes.
I'm glad
More
that you
one than
said
the other.
sometimes you get a prompt and you're like, okay, I think I can feel this one out. But we could have picked a college party movie. There's like frat party. But when you said high school underage drinking, I'm like, oh, we both picked high school movies.
Yeah,
which was
that's
smart.
interesting. It's led to a party, so it could have been any type of party.
it could have
Could have
been.
been any type of party. It could have been a business a conference.
There's something about a high school party that feels so rebellious because it's like there's so many things you're not supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Usually the party you're not supposed to be doing, the drinking you're not supposed to be doing. You have this motive to like hook up, which is like you can argue you don't have to be doing, but you feel like you do. Like there's so much like coming of age in like high school parties, whereas like in college, you're like, yeah, that's what we yeah, that's what you're there.
You have to
do.
worry about destroying your parents' property.
Yeah, like the stakes of a high school party, there's repercussions, and the microcosm of high school is so like insular that it's like everyone's business is at that party. Like it's not. Yeah, I just feel like there's something very special about it.
Well, do you want to talk about your movie first?
Yeah, we can do my movie first. I did House Party, the 1990.
Bit on the nose.
House Party. Bit on the nose. Quinn, I know you're not talking about a bit on the nose. But written and directed by Reginald Hudlin, and it is about the rappers Kid and Play. This was the time when they're like, these little rap black cats, we can make some money off of them. And they made a whole movie about these two guys. They're in high schools, they're friends. Play is his parents are out of town, and he's gonna throw a party. And Play is Mac Daddy G homeboy trying to holler at all the girls, and Kid is just a goofy little rapper, want to be rapper with a dead mom. And he's got some bullies, and he's got some crushes, and everyone's trying to have sex. And I feel like it is to me like the classic party movie, like what I grew up on. I saw this movie all the time as a kid. It was always on Comedy Central. And I feel like, there's not really much to talk about as a plot. Is, guys are trying to have sex. People are choosing. He's trying to protect his house. And also he got in some fisticuffs. He's trying not to get caught by his dad. There's a lot of stakes in this movie. Yeah. And it's all around a good time. And had a lot more depth than I remembered it having, because it's a 1990 movie, and they actually, wrote characters, and women were actually characters and not just like placeholders or something like that. Or, I think it was all around a good movie.
Yeah. I'd never seen this movie before. Is that a surprise to you?
Very surprised.
Had you seen this movie, Tony?
I hadn't.
Okay.
I haven't seen most movies though.
Okay.
So that came before me, I guess is the best way to say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically this movie came before me. I was born in 1991, so this movie was 1990.
Yeah.
And it is like most things from like the first year of a decade. It feels very 80s, but maybe that's just like some of the hairstyles.
It's more 80s than 90s for sure.
I mean, it was probably filmed in I don't know when it came out, but I enjoyed it. It's got like a weird like.
Wait, what's your movie?
Oh no, I'm just talking about my movie, but I'm saying I enjoyed it. It had a weird like. Have you seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
I haven't, but I know a lot of the
You've seen
references.
Yeah. It felt a little bit like some studio exec. I'm not saying it was
like,
a black, but it was like
version.
let's like that, especially that at the end where he's like trying to rush home.
Yeah.
Anyway, I liked it.
Yeah.
You're looking at me like I was going to come back.
Yeah, I know. I think this might be one of the few episodes where we actually like each other's movies.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Look
Sometimes
at me
it
bringing
gives-
harmony to the
It's
pod.
real content. It's bad vibes at a party. At the fighter. My movie is the 2008 Michael Cera, Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse three-hander. Superbad. It is, Superbad. It's another typical. It's the last. They're two high school seniors, dorks, lifelong best friends, find out about this party being thrown by Emma Stone, Jonah Hill's crush in the film, and they decide their friend with their buddy McLovin, who has a fake ID, they are going to provide alcohol to the party and be the heroes of the night. And it goes disastrously wrong to comedic effect. Although they do all ultimately end up at the party. They have a good time. Some lessons are learned. But honestly, I remember this movie. The reason I picked this movie, I texted you about it. I was like, I wasn't sure because it is such the obvious pick.
Yeah.
And I let you have the first pick. I don't know why. Maybe because I was like, I don't want to lock into this one and see what you were going to choose.
Yeah.
But I couldn't choose anything. This movie came out when I was 16. So I wasn't a senior in high school, but I was in high school. And it is sort of like rewatching it now. I've seen it several times since it came out, but I saw it in theaters at the time. And rewatching it now, it's like, oh, one, it's starting to feel like a distinct separate era, which is kind of the head trip. But two, it's like, yeah, this feels like, in ways that are good and not so good, like what high school felt like at the time. It's a bit heightened, but it feels pretty true to life and true to specifically like my life. Whereas, and I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying for like House Party, that's like, I don't know anyone who ever looked like that. And that's not just because all the characters, but I mean like the styles and like that kid's haircut, which I'm sure talk about, like that is like, oh, I didn't go to high school at this time. I went to high school at this time. I feel like Superbad has like, now it is starting to also be nostalgic, which is kind of weird because I just remember it as the movie that everyone was talking about in high school that year that it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tony, we know you don't watch movies, but did you have any like thoughts or like, oh, they're for sure going to choose this
And
movie?
had you seen Superbad first off?
I have seen.
You
Superbad.
had seen Superbad.
Similar to
Yeah.
exact. I mean, I grew up in a very white suburb, so it's like that. And I was just telling Quinn before the podcast, I'm like, the thing I remembered before watching the recap, because I had to watch House Party, but I was like, I was also always drawing dicks on stuff. So I was like, that particular like subplot resonated a lot with me.
That wasn't a joke to you.
No, like as like a kid, I don't know if I got that from the movie or I also was doing it. It's like, it's hard, like chicken before the egg. It's hard to see which
Did you
came
see
first.
it like super young or did you see it
Well,
when you
yeah,
were
because like
older?
I would have been like 9 or no, sorry, 10 maybe. Because I was 1997, like like 10, 11. So it's just like probably some of the middle school. So it just like it probably rubbed off on me. Oh God,
Let's not say that.
Yeah, I know. I was like back then. It definitely imprinted on me. I'm very
Dicks
impressive.
can do that too.
It's not still not great.
I'm impressionable. So yeah, like it was just funny because I'm like, but to the movie's point, it's interesting because I think House Party aged better. Like as far as like, you know, showing women as like full characters and like being like, I don't want, or, you know, like showing their family, you know, like it did, it randomly like, and like all the stuff with the cops, I'm like, that shit's still going on right now. Like, it's just like, they kind of made it like grounded in this way that like, it makes it feel like it could have happened today, but obviously it's like very old school but like in a nostalgic way that still feels fresh and relevant. It's interesting. Yeah.
Both of our movies had cops. Obviously, if you have a party movie, you got to have cops.
Yeah.
You got to kind of fuck things up. And our cops were both doofuses in both movies, but one was more evil more than because it was a black movie. And I think they had to get that point across. I feel like with House Party, you know, I feel especially back then, it was like you had to make a movie, but then it was like you had to like deliver a message.
Yeah.
And you had to have the whole Black experience encompassed in a movie. It's like you couldn't just have a little niche like thing. Like it's like Black people, especially back then, weren't allowed to make niche movies with like certain particular aspects. And just like it had to be acceptable to everyone. So it had to be like acceptable to everyone in the Black experience. So it was interesting to me how this through like all the levels. It showed their family, and it showed
Mhm.
like how their friends reacted, and how all the different sides and angles of everyone at the party.
The neighbor at the party.
The neighbor
was, like,
at the party. Yeah.
Affected. I think like the
John Witherspoon.
John Witherspoon.
The
I
man.
was very excited when we saw when I saw
Public
John
Enema next door.
the I think it's like we said, that there has to be cops in a party movie. Like cops are always the like societal threat to break up the party. There's like the parent level threat of like you're gonna be grounded. There's the cop level threat that you're gonna get arrested. But in a black movie, it's like getting arrested looks a lot different. To
Yeah.
McLovin, it's like, yeah, like let's fuck with me. Yeah, like we knew you weren't 25, kid. We just want like, it's like that's if they tried that shit in a black movie, everyone would be like, what was that?
Yeah.
Like what was that?
He's not just gonna ride around with the cops having fun.
Yeah, no.
But you
But
know,
the cops in Superbad are worth noting, played by Seth Rogen and Bill Hader.
It's the
And
camera.
they got
they
Bill
are.
Hader at. Oh, I'm not defending. I'm just saying like they are a great part of the movie Superbad, and they got Bill Hader like right before he even blew up, kind of on SNL, and it's like such a cool like. Oh shit, they got Bill Hader and he's like the 8th guy in this movie.
no,
Yes.
the cops make the movie so much better.
Yeah.
It's a great third story.
Yeah.
Third act or whatever. There's part of movies you're supposed to have fun. It's supposed to be a lot of fun in these movies, and I feel like there is a lot of fun in both these movies.
Sure.
You don't really see much partying in Superbad,
That was one of my qualms.
but one of the funnier party scenes
Mhm.
and funnier scenes of my young adulthood. I was 21 when Superbad came out,
Okay.
and I'll never forget it. I was in my loft, and my roommate, who was like 27, came into the living room, and he was like, "Hey, I just watched this movie Superbad. You've got to go see it." Because like at this time, I went through a weird phase from like 2006 to 2011, 12, before I got in this relationship. We saw movies all the time. Where if you are an avid listener of the podcast and been listening to the beginning, you know this. Ricky Bobby, okay, let me down so bad that I was like, I'm not spending fucking 15
Talladega Nights?
Yes, I hated that movie.
Oh.
It's not good. This podcast determined it's not good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tony.
I hated that movie when it came out. The whole movie was the trailer. I was pissed in the theater, and I was like, I just spent fucking $20 to watch this movie, and it sucked. And I was like, fuck movies. And I didn't see movies for like, the only movies I saw like 2-3 movies a year. And I saw Dark Knight like 3 times in 2008.
I love that movie.
But he came home, he's like, yo, you gotta see Superbad. It's so good. He's like, the first 15 minutes is literally sounds like you and Phil having a conversation every single day. And I was like, oh shit, all right, I'll go check it out. And I loved it. And it was so good. And but the I feel like the moment that I think about, and as far as a party scene and like trying to like get cool and get girls, is the period scene. It's such an insane
That's what I was going to say.
scene.
That the Superbad doesn't have. It takes maybe to the third act before they get to the party, but
Yeah.
there are parties or
On the
party
way.
prep, like
Yes.
buying beer, stuff that I feel like is in the sphere of like let's throw a party. Like we
Yeah.
gotta get the booze, we gotta
Mhm.
how are we gonna get there? Who's gonna
Yeah.
who's trying to hook up? Like so, yes. But that period blood scene was the one which, funnily enough for me, when I was rewatching, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about this scene, and it's not it's not like one of my top, like it's not the moment where I laugh the hardest, but
Yeah.
I do remember as like a gross out factor. That was like back when still like call it the something about marrying of all these movies where it's
Yeah.
like, what's the thing? What's the semen in the hair?
Yeah.
Like what's the like and so it's like the thing is that someone gets period blood on there, but it feels a little bit like so I watched this movie with Corey. I
Yeah.
rewatched this movie with Corey, my wife, and she was like, this movie that like
Would never.
well, she didn't say would never. She's like that like created a like you know how
Hysteria
after
about
people saw
periods.
Jaws, no one wanted to go swimming.
Yeah.
I guess she was like, I was so like, oh God, like this can happen. Like it unearthed the thing that she didn't know to be
Wow.
concerned about. I suppose maybe she wouldn't want me to just say that.
The
but-
scene is kind of
Cut that.
the scene is a big cringy and like shock value, but
Yeah.
the thing that grossed me out more so than that was them putting alcohol in the laundry detergent.
I know that's the grossest part, and he's drinking it later, and it is. They do call it green beer,
I was
but
like,
that's also the kind of like that's the dumbest thing
Yeah,
that you could do. But
it-
of course, like I don't know, I don't remember like a party where someone did that. But in terms of like unsanitary beer conditions, absolutely.
Oh,
like
yeah.
every party in high school I went
I mean, think
to.
about beer pong.
oh,
Yeah,
Like the balls flying
You're
over
doing it in
this
someone's
room.
dirty, unfinished
No,
basement,
it's
and
like-
the pong ball
and then
rolls
you're like,
underneath that
"Oh,
old
it
sink
just
that
went
only has
in
paint stains on it.
the cup, let me drink it." And
Yeah.
like everyone's hand is just go like
And then it morphed into like, especially as an older person who was really younger in the beer pong, like in the
You're saying
in the
you came up in the beer pong scene?
Yes, 100%. I did.
okay, so we're
I was
beer
a part
pong
of it.
bandwagoners, and you're
When people were like, "No, let's just put water in the cups," and blah blah blah, I was
And
like,
then-
"Nah, I fucking."
Oh yes,
I was born in
there
the
is that.
dark. I was.
Why are we even doing this for the sport?
Yeah, no.
I'm not doing it for the
We're
sport.
doing it to drink the beer out of
no,
these cups.
I
out of
started
these
doing that because
dirty
then you
balls.
have the or you have the cup on the side with the water and you dip the ball.
Yes.
in it. But there's
Yeah,
like
you do
there-
that. That's what you do.
You ever been to one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
like modern arcades, like for adults?
and they have
And
the
they have beer pong like with water as a game, like
Yes.
next to whack-a-mole. I'm like, I don't want to play this when I'm not drinking.
There is a photo in my
I might as well
phone.
play with a pinball machine.
There's a photo in my phone of me that I took of me getting a top 10 score on
Oh
one of
my
those
God.
beer pong machines.
Cut that.
I
Cut
had to
that.
document it. That's I
I
grew
play
up in
on
it.
the the iPhone game.
Yes, I will play.
Well,
I will.
that's totally different.
destroy
And
Okay,
that is
okay.
cool.
I was like, because that it's not.
Also,
the
I
sport,
drink while doing that.
but- Yeah.
Yo, that FaceTiming and drink. I destroyed Quinn all during the pandemic on that game.
No.
I
We
destroyed
can
Quinn.
find the stats. It was pretty
They
close.
record
To
those
Oh,
stats?
we did.
Oh,
55-45 is the differential at the most.
But let's talk about House Party for a little bit.
Sure.
Um,
Can I say a strange thing about House Party, or a thing that felt
yeah.
like
This is both your first times
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
House Party.
no one at the party was drinking. One guy was drinking, and they called him an alky, and they kicked him out. And I was like, am I to believe that people don't drink? Not everyone drinks at a party. That's cool. But am I to believe that no one drank at parties? For a movie that was rated R, that felt like a weird, like, why isn't anyone drinking?
So I'll speak to my brother's experience because he moved his senior year of high school, and we were in a predominantly black area of Chicago, and then moved to a predominantly white one, suburbs. And he said the biggest difference is that everyone was drinking. He's like, no one in my old school is drinking. Like we were always hanging out, we were always doing stuff,
Mhm.
but like it was not centered around alcohol. Whereas in our new town, it was like, we're having a party, like the first thing you made sure you have was alcohol. So like,
Yeah.
it feels,
It feels very wholesome and pure
Yeah.
to just have a dance party. Is that your experience at parties in high school?
Somewhat,
Okay.
but not really.
Yeah.
I feel like it's speaking to the black experience back then, as in like it seems wholesome, but really when you get down to the bottom of it, is like
economic.
black people can't afford to get drunk and then fuck up. And as a high schooler, you get drunk, you fuck up, your life could potentially be ruined. You could get killed by the police. Like bad things can happen. So I think it was more so the consciousness of we aren't in a place where we can afford to do that, like in a white suburb or a white community, that they can get drunk and wreck their car and they can do these things. But I think maybe it was just looked down upon, and maybe also because of like the crack era, like in the 80s, where it's like drinking leads to smoking, which leads to doing harder drugs. So I feel like maybe that was something, and I think maybe just the writer was just trying to send a message, you know? I also am a weird person, and I have conspiracy theories and thoughts that I don't think about or talk about, but I feel like, this was a time before the US and the television could adulter and corrupt the black community. Like this was before gangster rap and like before like, oh, drinking is cool, doing drugs is cool. Like if you go back in the 80s, they didn't talk about that shit in rap music. They didn't talk about that shit in like music. And over time, like now, we have rappers who talk about doing drugs, like not even selling drugs, but doing the drugs. And like, that's what's cool. And in my mind, I just feel like black people have just been the black community has slowly been destroyed, and it all started with segregation. It's kind of crazy, we used to have black dentists, we used to have black doctors, we used to have black this, and now it's just like, no, you can't even have any of that. So I took it to a really unfunny
I was like, this
deep
party
place.
conversation, it's like when you're at the party and someone starts talking about segregation, you're like,
It was just interesting to me because when I was watching this movie, I was
Speaking
like,
of segregation, there wasn't a white person at that party.
there wasn't. This was a wholesome,
there were any black people
very
in
fun movie,
Yeah.
and I loved that.
I was kind of
loved-
surprised it was rated R for that reason.
Yeah, because there's like
'Cause other
fucking in
parts
it,
of
there's shooting in it.
Yeah, there's like allusions. There's the third act is all about getting raped in prison. So I mean,
Yes,
there's
that
some,
part is
there's
crazy.
Some stuff that holds
There's
up,
some
the
stuff-
that
I said
doesn't
age
hold
as
up.
well.
Yeah,
I
there's
forgot
some
the third
there's some
act.
slurs, some terms,
There's some slurs and some
some terms.
Yeah.
It's
that-
still like you have to take everything in context, but it's more. I feel like the well-roundedness of the movie. I also kind of make a joke because I feel like when Black people are at a party, like there's just gonna be dancing. But I've been at so many white parties where like a white person will be like, "Let's have a dance party." I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't just like have a dance party.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people just like need to be like
Yes.
there just needs to be a dance thing.
It's
So
a lot
like
of jumping up and down to the Killers.
yes, like in your Mr. Brightside, you're like, you know what I mean, like that. You have to wait for like everyone to know the song, but it's like Black people know if they're together, you will be like that's a kind of just like a baseline.
Yeah.
You know what felt like a funny specific related to that? I don't know. Where Martin Lawrence is in this movie.
I know.
Where he's spinning
Dragon
he's,
breath.
He's
I know.
DJing at Play's party, and he's got like blue painter's tape over the labels on his records, and he
Mhm.
goes, "If you hide the labels, they can't steal your shit." And I was like, that feels like someone's learned experience.
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah,
And I was
for
like,
sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, it felt the movie felt like a Black experience. It's like this for sure. All these things have happened to someone, and it was like did all these like tropes that I feel like I've learned or not even learned that I've like known or felt. It's like, did I learn this from this movie? Like the Kool-Aid sugar thing.
That's a
and, like,
great shot. That kid's just
He's
pouring
just-
an endless bag of sugar
Yeah, he's
into
like,
the
I'm not even gonna
Kool-Aid.
eat that anymore.
Yeah, I
You
don't
can
know.
see
His,
the level of the Kool-Aid rising.
I don't know his name, but that's the second time we've seen him because he's also in Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood.
nice.
He's the kid in Boys in the Hood.
Oh, damn.
Trey.
He was booked and busy.
He's young Trey.
Yeah.
Love that
Yes.
for him.
1991 was a good couple of years for him. And then, just like speaking on like, and it showed Black people from like, living in the suburbs, Black people living in the
Yeah.
ghetto. It was just like the all around Black experience.
intergenerational. I literally like, it's probably maybe my favorite part of the movie was when the neighbor's wife was like, "Come to bed, Keith." He's like, "Who's Keith?" I'm like, okay, not this party blowing up everyone's shit. Like, I'm like, I love that. Like, no one, like everyone was affected by it,
Yes.
and like that made it feel like, God, I'm gonna talk about improv for one freaking second. But like
We'll
how
cut it.
they're trying to make us like do themes and stuff. It's like, oh wait, like every scene can be like totally separate, but every scene can like be impacted by that larger theme of the party
Yes.
in its own unique way. And I was like, that was such a brilliant aside that like made that whole like story of the movie like just so much funnier. I was
Yeah.
like, that's
John Witherspoon has like maybe 2 minutes of screen time, but he brought his fastball. I also love that, and I know that it's like 35 years ago now, but I know that it's still
the
a
price.
hilarious number where it's like, I paid $15,000 for this house.
Like that is a real man. He's like, bro, I worked my whole goddamn life.
I
and
know.
paid all
I
this
just
money.
love that he's like throwing it out the window,
Yeah.
like he's yelling at people. Like
That is such a great scene, and like how you said how it's connecting, how this one party is affecting so many people. And one of my favorite line, which is funny because both of these characters play like a weird the opposite, where she's attracted to John Witherspoon character, but he's like married and not attracted to her in Friday After Next.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, that's funny that these two were in this role. But she goes, he's like, I'm tired of all these people making all these noise. And he's like, the only person out here making noise is you. I was like, oh shit. That's such a good line. It's just like he wanted to be affected by it. He was affected by it. But I hadn't seen this movie in so long. I feel like I had seen this movie a dozen times, but I haven't seen it in like 25 years or 20 years. And I was like, honestly, a little surprised at like how much I still enjoyed it. Because there's some movies that I watch from my past and I'm like, ugh, this is not what I remember it being.
To your point about, and I think both movies do this, but I mean, to your point about like, I do think House Party is trying to say some maybe broader things than Superbad would be.
Oh, 100%.
I think that, yeah, like I think at times it works, like that scene at the end with Sydney and Kid, and he's like trying to get with her, and she's like, well, what about
birth control.
choose? Yeah, but also like
choose
me against
yeah.
me, me and
Yeah, she's like, you
Trey.
just trying to kiss my friend.
And it's like shot, and there's like it's a really like it's like a really mature, good scene, sort of surprising to see in any movie that's sort of about a party.
For
like
sure.
for them to take the like reality. And then there's like some stuff like I like the entire like existence of a character like Pee-wee in the same movie as this. You know, like so, like some of the stuff tonally you're kind of like, you know, but I appreciate like when these movies like say some of the stuff that feels true or just feels like considered in some way. And I think Superbad has a like it's trying to just hit like what your roommates said about the first 15 minutes. It's like totally true. It's like it just kind of hits you with like jokes or like buddies going through school. It's not really that serious. But I feel like weirdly that movie ends where it says something real about like these two guys' friendship and like that feeling of two friends kind of drifting apart. And especially not to say that this can't be true of like female friendships or just non-male friendships, but two teenage like boys, young men who like don't really want to say that they're feeling like, hey, I'm upset that we're going to different colleges. They can't talk about it. The whole movie they're like, nah, it's fine. Well, I'm still gonna see you, you know. And it's like that feels true. Usually shit like this comes out in other ways. And so it's like through them trying to get beer for the party and those like so that they wind up having the larger conversation about like, are we gonna be friends still? Is this like a fleeting thing? And that feels so true to being 16, 17, 18, being like, life is about to change. These moments are fun. Like, it's not as profound, but it feels specific to a thing. And even if you don't look like Jonah Hill or Mike, I feel like that's true of a lot of friendships when you kind of get to it. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, this movie is
that moment at the end where he's going down the escalator. I'm like, that feel there's something they're being pulled away. They're both with the women that they wanted to be with. Like it's a happy ending, but it's sad because they are being literally pulled away from each other, and they kind of just want to go back.
Moments to, you know, it's like their last summer. Time
they'll see
together.
each other, they'll still hang out, but it's like we are now sort of setting off on these different paths. No, and it's effective, I think, in a movie that's really not trying to do anything other than make you laugh most of the time.
Yes. And for a movie that makes you laugh as much as it does, I feel like they did a great job at tapping into that. It feels very genuine. Like everything about the experience, the slights, the like joking on each other, the like bullying, the like
since we're talking about Superbad, do you want to talk pop culture?
Yeah, let's talk pop culture.
Now, Tony, this is the first of our 5 patented criteria points. You know about the criteria points.
Oh, it's patented.
It's patented. It's patent pending.
Oh, okay.
But it's a whole legal thing. It's tied up.
Yeah.
But we're pretty confident it will be patented.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna strain these movies like Fusili through our patented 5 points, and we'll get to the determination of which one is a better party movie. Since we're talking pop culture, since we're talking Superbad, I feel like we're gonna talk about some of these moments.
Oh, it's iconic. Pop culture.
McLovin is still. I remember seeing that movie and being like, "This kid is cursed," because he's about to be super famous and super popular, but he will also always probably be McLovin. And I don't actually mean he's cursed. And I'm sure Christopher Mintz-Plasse lives a rich life.
Yeah.
But it's just that thing where it's like he's going to be hearing it when people just see him and be like, McLovin, like forever, until he doesn't look like that
even
anymore.
on like Twitter, like whatever the date is on his ID, like I'll see it every year, like it's McLovin's birthday, and like it goes viral every year because everyone's just like, oh my god, like
I think you can still buy the McLovin like Hawaii ID shirt at Skechers.
I mean, and that is such a funny scene. Like, I mean, I don't know, you're the one with the most fake ID experience there, but like just all the wrong choices that he makes and the lines that they like Michael Cera and what is it they call him, like McLovin, you sound like an Irish R&B singer, like all the like the roasting, the of one that shots,
that's I feel like that movie
they kind of typified a kid too. Sometimes I'll see a kid, I'll be like, that looks like a McLovin.
Like just like I feel like they had in the movies were also very similar in the way, because you're like the kid in House Party and McLovin in Superbad are the like supposed to be the weird like what are you doing here type people, but they end up like getting the most action by the end of the movie and like having the best payoff. So it kind of like shows you sometimes the weird guy like wins, and I feel like McLovin like gave so many, because like between McLovin, Jonah Hill, and Michael Cera, it's like they're all weird. Like they're all the losers, and so it's to find the loser of the losers like is such a great dynamic for them, and to see like how he has the best time in the movie, like by far, is just like sometimes life does work out that
They're
way.
trying to ditch him the whole time.
Yeah.
And he comes through and he like saves the day.
Yeah.
And gets the girl. It's kind of wild. And I think McLovin, like you say McLovin, and everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like the pop culture and the poster. I feel like it's just a really good it was a good like
just
poster.
three dudes standing looking forward. Yeah, good. But it does have a kind of I
think the fact that it has, I mean, this is like, I don't know how pop culture this is, but like you said, like Bill Hader, like even the 8th character has now become this like auteur of their own, this like comedy legend, it's just like that was so many people's first roles, to the point where like people use that movie, because I think now a lot of casting is just casting the same like 10 people in all the movies, and people are like, imagine if we did that with like Superbad, we wouldn't have Michael Cera, we wouldn't have Jonah, like, because like that was just such like a like, holy shit, look at these guys, like these guys are gonna be doing comedy for
these
a long
are the people
time.
Same 10 people we're gonna cast for the next 10 years.
I know, right? Like, so
gotta turn them over at some point.
It's not perfect, but it's just like that.
Well, they are, I'm not sure how old they actually were, but they are especially McLovin, who I think is the youngest, but they're all believable high schoolers.
Yeah.
All
which is something about,
and as far as pop culture
that I don't
phenomenon,
that's so true.
This started a string of movies that they all like were at least
it
a
was
few
like the height of the
Judd
Apatow produced.
Yeah, it was like
he
the
didn't
next
direct
10
this
years.
one, but like is the height of the like Judd Apatow producerial influence over all of the like American comedy in the late 2000s.
Yeah. House Party, I feel like you don't feel the influence now, but I guess you do.
Can
they
I
just
ask a
remade
question
the
about
movie?
this?
What's that?
What is this is such a white guy ask a black guy question. What is the like larger footprint of Kid and Play? I genuinely only know that him for Kid's haircut and this
they
movie.
Were a rap duo.
I know they were a rap duo, but like do they have any imprint outside of this movie, or is it mostly there?
They made 4 of these movies together, I think.
Okay.
And then but they also made like another like 5 movies. They together as a duo are in like 8 to 10 movies.
But so they're a rap duo known primarily for their acting?
Yes.
Okay.
They weren't
like Will Smith.
They were more like 80s rappers, and they couldn't 90s the rap demographic change.
Sure, yeah. They do seem very 80s.
Yes.
Especially their flow.
Yeah.
It's very like early rap.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like you, Quinn, may not have seen the pop culture phenomenon, but it is massive.
I believe it.
And I will say, I feel like the most massive thing is the dance scene.
I was gonna say the dancing.
Dance. It's the
dancing is very good.
Have you guys seen White Chicks?
Yes, they do the dance.
That was a 1-to-1. I was like, this dance and White Chicks dance scene is iconic. Like that still goes viral all the time. I'm like, this is that. Like
no, it literally is.
This, and it's the same, almost like the same shots. Like they're trying to invoke. I mean, like it just feels like a total influence for that, because I'm like, it was so iconic.
And I'm glad you said that, because it's so iconic and so pop cultural heavy in the black community that like in White Chicks, speaking to black guys being in the white experience, it's like, even though they're supposed to be these white chicks, they still can't help but do the Kid and Play dance from House Party. Mm-hmm. Like Lemon Pepper Wet, we've done the Kid and Play dance on stage at least like 8 times. At least 8 times in like the last couple of years. Like it always comes up. Anytime it's like, oh, let's do a dance, it's always like, let's put our ankles together and spin around. Like, so I feel like that's pretty iconic. The Kool-Aid scene, Kid's hair. I mean, I feel like this feels hella disrespectful. I don't know, we haven't talked about him yet, but Robin Harris. Come on, man. Robin Harris is Kid's dad. Hilarious.
He is maybe my favorite character of the movie.
It just felt like they just let him ad lib and just like improv, and I love it. Like Robin Harris is so funny. He's a stand-up comic. He's like so good at comedy that one of his stories, one of his bits became the movie Bebe's Kids, which I haven't chosen yet, but I will eventually choose for a prompt and make you watch it. But he told a stand-up that was so good that they made it into a movie. Damn. Like in the early animated movie. And it starts out with him telling, like him on stage as a stand-up, the movie, and then it goes into the animated, like the thing. And I just feel like just like him and like kind of the slights or like the like angry dad things he says kind of like is a pop culture thing. So maybe not pop cultural. It doesn't have the influence that Superbad did.
It's a time capsule.
Because of the times.
You can really like feel like it feels like 1990s culture, like, you know, in a specific way.
Especially was like switch, like what? Who was doing that? Like they was dancing and then switching. It was just like just having a good time. It was kind of wild.
Now, Leonard, I know you're gonna have a lot to say about this one. So, how do these movies hold up?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot of
Go ahead,
terms.
just have at it.
There's a lot of
Superbad.
terms and things used in both movies.
Yes,
that don't hold up as well.
correct.
Superbad, there's a lot going on.
Superbad has. I'll help you out. Maybe
Okay.
I feel like Superbad has. It's like weirdly stuck in this middle area where it's trying to be conscious about, like the biggest sin you could say for holding up is like that you had Emma Stone the whole movie and they like don't put her to full use.
Oh,
This was before Emma Stone was famous. It's not like they cast her off of something else and then like shelved her, but that role clearly, if you knew like, oh, Emma Stone is the one of the leads of this movie, they would probably have given her like more fun to do, especially since we know how funny she is. But it's like the whole thing where Jonah Hill's point is like, I want to get beer so Jules, Emma Stone, can get so drunk that she'll have sex with me because I have such low self-esteem. She'll never have sex with me if she's not hammered. And then he learns that is like not the right opinion to have. But it's also strange. And like Michael Cera has a similar thing where he's trying to get a blowjay from his crush. So he's like, I gotta be drunk because she's drunk. And I guess they don't skirt the politics of that, which I think a lot of movies, if you were trying, it's like these kids might not even be that considerate, even if it doesn't feel that considerate. But they also don't like they weirdly like sidestep. Like Emma Stone's just like, I don't drink, like it weird. They don't like address it so much. And Michael Cera doesn't take advantage of the opportunity to have sex, and that feels like Michael Cera feels very much like a good boy.
She threw up on him.
She threw up, but I think she threw up after he was like, let's
Already,
not do
like,
this. You're
let's
too
not.
drunk.
Yeah.
And then she gets angry and throws up next to the bed. Like they're navigating those awkward situations, but I think it could have been a lot worse. But it's also like this was clearly like 10 years before Me Too. A lot of conversations that we've had since that have sort of like rigidly kind of defined where you would expect the movie to,
I wasn't upset with that because he's like, they are learning their lesson in the movie. And like, it's like, all right, I'm a teenage boy. Okay, this isn't the right way to think about it. But I feel like the more egregious thing is just like having these other characters and we don't even see their angle or whatever. But I guess it's more about these boys and their relationship than anything.
Yeah. I mean, and like House Party is like very nuanced with regard to like male, like the courtship between the main male characters and the two female characters. But there is that that prison rape scene at the end, which is just very jarring to me. I don't think that holds up at all.
It doesn't hold up
terrible.
I feel like that's just like that also feels very time capsule-y too, because you're thinking like prison industrial complex. You're thinking people's like,
but they're not blaming the prison. The guys that are bad in that are like,
also they're in jail.
they're in the holding area.
They're in the holding area.
And the whole thing of these guys of like, I used to run an elementary. That
was crazy. That was crazy.
I used to run a daycare.
That seems indefensible.
I killed a guy. I was like, what? How are y'all all in just jail then?
Yeah.
Plot hole.
That scene does not hold up. And then he raps about it. And then it's just like, I just feel like it just felt like another way of being like, hey, don't go to jail, black people.
No, right? Like it felt like they were trying to scare, like what's that show? Like Scared Straight.
Yeah.
It felt like a comedy version of Scared Straight.
All right.
So they literally. And they just didn't want to they were just trying to make it like give the third act some like party repercussions, but
some immediate stakes.
Yeah, and I think it definitely took a direction, but let's go back, because before they get there, they're about to have sex, and he says, "Do you have are you on the pill? Do you have a condom? Or we're not gonna do it." What?
Yeah.
Like that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like because it's like they were at that point just like so consensual, and it could have just like, well, whatever. But it's just like that was like a safe sex. Like it felt like they were actually trying to teach good things throughout the movie.
Yes.
And that was their way of saying don't go to jail. But that was like just misguided.
It was wild because it was like he clearly like wanted to have sex with her, and he was like, oh wait. But I thought what was crazy to me was it almost felt like a sex ed situation. He was like, you got one of them what's it called?
Yeah.
Diagram?
condom?
No.
When he asks
called a
about it, she has a
diagram,
diagram.
and then she was like, "What is it? What do you got? You got one of them?" And he's like, "Oh, condoms."
Well, because they wanted to use the line, it's you got one of them. Whatchamacallits in your wallet? They wanted that alliteration. They wanted that little rhyme. There.
Okay.
I felt the screenwriter's hand in that moment.
What
You got a whatchamacallit in your wallet?
yeah,
She knows what a condom is.
that was
Maybe
wild.
she's being demure. Maybe she's being
very mindful.
So
Yeah.
there wasn't, there are some parts that don't hold up, but I did like the older black party, and then we're like, we're not pressing charges.
That was cool.
It
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
the fashion. I was like, I'm not gonna. You don't have to handle it with fashion.
I like that those were her parents at the end.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It was like
Yeah.
there was no wasted quote unquote
Lines
space
or
or
screen
time
time.
or
Yeah.
screen time, and it was and that's why I feel like it makes it a nice watch, even as someone watching it for the first time, because I'm like, as a writer, I'm like, brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm like,
The
love
weird
it.
thing is when the cops take the three bullies in the
Yeah.
middle of the movie, they say they're going to take them to the dock to
And
rough
they-
them up, and then they're just back in their car later. Like that was like, listen, I'm not asking for the scene where they rough those guys up, but it's just like a weird okay, reset.
Yeah.
Like then they get arrested
Yeah.
again later.
Yeah.
It's like the movie
It
just
was
needed
just-
to
That
airlift
did
them away
feel-
for a
I
little
was
bit.
just saying the only
and,
thing that
like,
really doesn't hold up in the movie is the bullies.
yeah.
They just don't
that
make
feels
sense.
Three Stooges.
It doesn't feel
and
like
the-
that's
It doesn't
anyone's
make. It's
real
like, what's their
bullying, right?
motivation?
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm gonna burn the place down. They're like, what?
Well, then they were also like insinuating he's gay.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
yeah.
right when I'm about to
Yep.
enter, I just think of his ass, and they're like, wait, dude, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not. Yeah, like
There were some issues there.
that's it. That just felt like they just wanted the Three Stooges. Like they just wanted okay, yeah, the parents aren't gonna bust the party, so then it's like, okay, who is? And it's
No,
like,
that got Pee Wee is doing comedy at a level that would make like Curly the Stooge blush and be like, tone it down. Like he's like, let's kick their. And also that guy looks 37.
Yes, they all look so old.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what.
I also
Maybe
have
he's
a
been held
gripe.
back.
I have a gripe with all these streaming services.
Oh yeah.
I bought House Party on Apple TV, and the closed captioning is atrocious. It said, "You're funky." Like they will not put the curse words. They
Yeah.
change
Oh, what?
whole phrases.
that happened on. I think I rented it on Prime, and it's the same thing. It
Yes.
was like you sucking monkey. Like
Yeah, it was like monkey face
But
instead
they
of
spelled the
motherfucker.
N-word like hard ER every time.
It was
It
crazy.
was actually crazy because they censored everything.
Yeah.
else.
And like when I was watching Fight Club, they did the same thing. It was
They
like
put the N-word
oh,
in?
yeah, they put full N-word. I've on like 3 different streaming services watching movies for this podcast. I've seen where the closed captioning is completely different, and if it's like curse words or bad phrases, they just put a different
Why?
type of
I already
phrase or-
paid for the. All
I
right,
know.
I'm gonna use.
So
we don't have time
stop
for
that
this
streaming services.
conversation.
Please stop doing that.
Leonard, was Jennifer Coolidge in either of these movies?
Jennifer
Is
Coolidge.
that the third one?
Yes. Jennifer Coolidge was not
Jennifer
in
Coolidge,
either.
popular comedian character actor. You're familiar, of course.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
She was not in.
If she's
House
in
Party.
either of our movies, we automatically win.
was
That's-
not. She could have been in Superbad.
Oh man, yeah, she could
Should
have
have
been.
killed a Superbad role.
Yeah.
She could have been
Was-
Michael Cera's hot mom.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say
then,
the
but then
mom.
you're not using her enough. But that's like, I feel like you could have made her
A teacher.
a teacher
No.
would have been funny. There aren't a lot of adults in this movie other
Yeah.
than the cops.
We
so
haven't
I
talked
feel
about
like,
what's his name in that one funny scene where he hits him with the car.
Oh,
That-
Joe Latrulio.
Joe Latrulio.
Yeah, she sounds
That-
like she fully wants it, man. She like just trying to relate to the
Yeah.
two.
I
Who's
feel
gonna
like-
give it to her?
I feel like that could have been. I could have been seeing Jennifer Coolidge. In that.
Let's give her
And-
that part. I like
yeah,
that.
as, like,
and then she
hitting
gets
the-
beat up by the guy and thrown out. Not so much that, but
Not-
that is a thing of a party where someone you don't want shows up at the party, and then he's like
Yeah.
getting on the phone and he's calling his. They don't ever fully explain that. It's like you calling your deadbeat friends. He's like, "What? What's up, man?" Like, yeah. Anyway.
That reminds me of like when you have a show and you just invite everyone and you tell people about it at your job, and then like the person you don't like, you'd never want to see outside of work, or
Yeah,
it
they're the one
shows
that
up,
shows up
and you're
first.
like, or they just show up and they're just like loud and obnoxious and being themselves, the person you don't like. And you're like, fuck, people think I like this
Yeah.
guy, and like they're ruining the show for other people. It's kind of weird. I just had an experience with that
Cool.
last night.
Who
it
would
wasn't
Jennifer Coolidge have been in?
And House Party.
She would have been the wife of the
Of
neighbor.
John Witherspoon.
Oh, that's fun.
She could've been-
That's good.
She could have been Kid's dead mom.
She's just in a.
I love-
She's in a framed picture.
I just loved because the Robin Harris's character was like, there's no way this man would have married a white woman.
And they just like
and
But he makes one reference to
he
that,
makes
and
one
it's the
reference,
only
and he
one in
has
the movie,
to,
right?
because Kid is so so light.
Yeah.
And he's like, I should have never made that.
No,
white
like literally, you can tell he blames
He
like
did say he
anything
fucked up.
wrong, like what that kid does. He's just like, that's your white side. Like that's what I hear in his like.
yeah.
inner
You
monologue.
always it's using your mama as an excuse.
Well, he also has that conversation with him when he's in that same scene when he's sitting on the bed and he's like, I don't want you to make the same mistake I made. And kid's like, whoa. And he goes, I didn't mean that. And it's like, that's him being like, I had a baby with a white woman and I deeply regret it.
It feels like another lesson though. Like it feels like this. They used every like chance that they could to be like, don't fuck up.
Don't
like,
fuck up. Hey man, you got one shot.
Yeah, like don't
You got
fuck
one
up,
chance,
but also
one
like have
opportunity.
fun.
Yeah. Which I loved.
Yeah.
Let's
Do you
talk
have any
about
stats
stats.
for these
Yeah, I have
movies?
my stats right here, ready to go. Wow. Shout out. I see why they made another one. So the 1990 House Party, it was made on a budget of $2.5 million,
Mhm.
and it made $26.4 million
Hmm.
in the box office.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a great return on investment. Rotten Tomatoes, holy shit, 94%.
Whoa.
81% from the people.
People.
From
Critics are people too.
Yeah, I mean whatever. From regular people, and I can't think right now. It is nice to not see it suffer from
Black movie review syndrome.
black movie reviews. Black movies get reviewed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
And it's a 6.5 on IMDb, which honestly is still pretty good for
Yeah.
a black movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is just a bunch of people giving it 1 star for not being The Dark Knight. I have to make The Dark Knight's IMDb rating better by making all of the ratings worse. Superbad was made for $20 million. Which is almost surprising considering nobody was that famous in the movie at the time.
A lot of locations.
I guess that's true. Got shut down a high school. It's made for $20 million, made $170 million.
Wow.
This movie was a hit. An R-rated comedy making that money, I remember at the time was like a big deal. I don't know if it had any actual records, but it was a big deal. It has a 88% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Okay.
critics, and the IMDb, I believe, was a 7.6.
7.6.
All feels pretty.
feels pretty on point.
Pretty.
Yeah.
pretty in
I
the-
mean,
in the
for
ballpark.
what the movie is, it is a good movie. Like it's a
Also-
good movie for what it's.
They have similar returns. Like
Yeah, like
for how much each was made. It's
Mhm.
like yeah.
it's pretty close. I
It's
feel like
pretty close.
I think throwing party movies might be a good investment. You know,
I
maybe
feel
we
like
should-
it's because like depending on how you do it, it's like there really can be like one main location that's like this is gonna be your expensive scenes with all the extras, all the stuff. But then, like you said, it's the like, okay, let's just go here, let's go here, like get this stuff. It's like, yeah, like
Yeah. House Party
lead
was
up.
mostly in one location.
and then just like the
Or like a
surrounding
stretch of neighborhood.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just like, and they're mostly outside or going from house to house. Or, like
I like that
whatever,
moment
like-
where he's walking Shireen home in the hood and she's like, oh, most people don't walk to me since the sniper started picking people off. And then he goes, that's fine with me. And he has a moment where he just looks up at the building.
all the moments with Martin and like, I'm the DJ, man.
Scratching the shit
No,
out of his
my
speaker
God.
in
God,
the
that
car.
killed
That
me.
gave me anxiety.
Oh,
so
I
much
don't even
anxiety.
have audio equipment.
Okay.
Leonard, it's time for final arguments.
Final
We've
arguments.
talked a lot about these movies.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay, you go first. You go
I think there's no wrong pick here, Tony. You're gonna follow your heart. I feel like I think of Superbad as a party movie, really the party movie based on when I saw it and when I was like interested in high school house parties. So that's like a hard thing for me to divorce from anything else. But also I think the scope of the movie is maybe what I like about it and come back to it. It is a very like, it's not really making any grand statements. I'm not knocking House Party for doing it. I guess I'm just saying like, it's that thing where if you're in a kind of party mindset, it's like, let me throw on Superbad. That'll kind of stay in that mindset and kind of hit that spot. And I think Michael Cera, post Arrested Development, but pre like kind of movie star Michael Cera, which this kind of made him that. Same Jonah Hill, same Emma Stone, Bill Hader. Seth Rogen was already popular, but this is like him hitting his stride. He wrote this movie. It like is one of those movies that catches so many like great, funny, talented people at like a really cool time. And so you go back and watch Superbad and it feels like a party with some friends. You know, you're like, oh yeah. And I remember seeing this moment in the theater, and when like that, an example is like when he's like, on the soccer field talking to Evan, and he gets like nudged by young Dave Franco.
Yes.
And he's like, get the fuck off the field. And he goes, why don't you go piss your pants again? Like 4th grade. And he goes, that was 8 years ago. He goes, people don't forget. I think about that all the time. Like there's just so many little lines.
I meant to mention that earlier.
I love those like little spots. So it feels like, maybe more typically my experience, although I never had an experience like this one specifically, but more of the kind of house party situation that I was used to growing up. So it's the perfect pick for me. But Leonard, what was your argument?
When we got this prompt, I don't know if you even gave me the first pick, but I texted you like, I was like, I think I have my choice. I was maybe gonna go with the other one, but I think that's what you're gonna choose, and you can have it because I'm gonna go with this other one. And my 2 options were House Party and Superbad.
Nice.
But then, after experiencing both the movies, I was like, I feel like Superbad more than anything is a coming of age story. I feel like it's a coming of age movie, and I feel like it's great and it's amazing. And they are, in some sense, trying to help throw the party. And I feel like it's a good, very funny movie. I can't knock the movie, but I feel like if we're talking like let's throw a party movie, I think House Party is the better iteration of that. I think it's we're seeing play and all the scope of him being like, I gotta put up the good shit, or you destroyed my toilet, and then like, oh no, I'm grounded, I can't leave the house, but I want to go to this party, and I'm trying to mac on some ladies at this party, and then like the 2 women being like, I like this one guy or I like this other guy, and then like having their relationship of like, you're just trying to get with every guy. We all know the girls in high school who had the pick of the litter, but they wanted everyone, and then the one girl like, I have this guy in the crush, and then it's like you can't like my crush. And I just feel like, as far as like a high school party goes, there's a lot more tropes and like storylines that happen that revolve around the party and what's happening there. And, you get the fun dance scene. Like there's literally just like a 4-minute moment in the movie where it's just a dance battle at a party.
Also a rap battle.
And a rap battle.
But it's all love.
But it's all love. I mean, we didn't even talk about I forgot to talk about this in the pop culture thing, but the bumping of the table. The bumping you bump my table one more time. So I feel like both these movies were very fun. I feel like House Party was more of a power party movie, maybe not in the sense of like fun, because it was like more well-rounded and it had a little depth to it. So it also maybe more felt like a Black movie, like a Black experience movie, than maybe a party movie. But I just think there were more aspects of throwing a party, having a good time, and the repercussions of said party. And that's why I think it's a better Let's Throw a Party movie.
Tony.
Whew,
you now have, you can take as much or as little time as you want, but you have to decide.
And you can tell us how you came to what.
Yeah, you can tell us wherever you're at.
I mean, these final arguments were chef's kiss. I just feel like they encapsulated most of the things that I was thinking already. But I will say that my final pick, and I'll give why after I say it, so I just don't want the suspense.
Okay.
I know, right? I'm like, I'm drawing it out so much. My pick is House Party. But for basically the reasons that were said, but for the reason that I think that Superbad is a comedy. Like, it's a Seth Rogen comedy where it's like you said, you have those amazing moments of like just the banter between these characters and these like really this coming of age experience for these guys. You're at like a lot of like the party like stuff beforehand, but it's very but it's less about the actual party and it's more about like these like kind of side quests for these people. Whereas like I feel like in House Party, we get to be at a party for a long time and we get to see another party that ends up like influencing the other party as well. And I think just as a writer who often ends up grounding stuff in one way or another, I really just did like how all the arcs of the story were just like so tied together so nicely. I do think it strays at different points, so it's not perfect. And I don't think it's like you said, Quinn, it's not as like fun. It's not as like, oh, like we're hanging out with the homies, let's just throw on like a movie that's gonna make us all be like, oh yeah, this like the whole time. Like especially as someone who hasn't seen it before, I don't think that was it. But I loved just like the atmosphere of the Black Party and like the dynamics that were going on there. And I love that we got to see everyone's life before the party, after the party, like, you know, like Shireen goes back home, her family's still doing all the same stuff. Like, it just felt very much like, yeah, like that is a night out. It wasn't like anything so crazy happened minus all the cop stuff, but it's just like, it really felt like quintessential lived experience, whereas Superbad is very heightened in a different way. So it's for that comedy, like for that comedic effect. So you end up in a lot of situations kind of outside of the impact of the party, but it's like influenced by the alcohol or by the like want for sex or this like want to do something before college. It feels very much like a before college, like what like was our last hurrah
and
movie.
And the movie that Leonard picked, everyone in it has already been through college.
They're in high school.
So the prison rape movie. That's the pick.
Yeah, nope. House Party is the pick. It won. And speaking of heightening, we forgot about the cops getting killed at the end of my movie. Which
with the roof that gets blown off at the beginning, unassociated with anything.
Wait, I
seen.
forgot. Yes,
the roof of the intro to the movie gets blown off or something.
Wow.
And then,
Anyways,
that was like a ode to Wizard of Oz.
Yes,
like right at the Wicked Witch. No, and it felt so 90s too, where you're like, we have $1,000 in our special effects budget, and the director's like, I know exactly where we're gonna spend that.
And I have 2 mannequins.
Like that's what that felt like to me.
Wow, Toni, thank you for coming
being on. Thanks for bringing the party spirit.
Yay!
I am now 4-0 in season 7.
Wow, really, Quinn?
4-0.
Toni, where can the people find you?
Where can the people find me?
Physically, where can they find you?
My address is my fake ID address, which is my real one. You can find me on the Instagram, Toni _Adeyemi. It'll be in the show notes probably. And I'll be at UCB.
We're gonna start doing that now.
I'm like the show.
You can catch Toni and Leonard on UCB Herald Night on Mondays if you live in the LA area or want to take a trip. Their team Yikes performs regularly.
You can also see Quinn Boys on Power of Attorney.
Oh, stop it.
We haven't talked about it yet this season, but last season there was an episode where me and Quinn
we don't have time to get into this now.
We're upset about not making Herald.
Right.
But we're back, bitch. We're on Herald this year. Oh, we haven't talked about it yet in season 7. You can't fucking stop us.
I gotta pull 5 rabbits out of my hat. We'll see you later on at UCB at the cinema.
No.
It's a party. Thanks for coming.
It's a party.
Goodbye.
It's a party.
Oh, that's so funny.